But why are you choosing India? I mean, what makes you choose Indian startups or invest time here, basically?
So Maitri, I live in the future. I don't live in the past.
You said it's not just AI ready, you'll have to be AI first now. Do you see that happening, or even a common man's life will get disrupted with AI?
Yes and no. Now guess how much time we took to develop the website, which was usually quoted at anywhere between 1 to 3 months.
Few days?
1 hour.
So do you really think gig workers like students will add value to employers because they would be investing only 4-5 hours maximum? Or
Absolutely.
okay.
And the reason is that part-timers come with
Hello and welcome to India's only student podcast, No Filter Please. But this is a special episode because we are not having a conversation with a student today, but we have our mentor and our angel investor, Mr. Nandkishore Kalambi, also known as Andy, with us on the show. First of all, thank you for doing this with us and welcome to No Filter Please.
Thank you, Maitri.
Like the title says, we don't want filters. Please be comfortable and speak your heart out on the show. And hopefully there are certain takeaways for students, for entrepreneurs, startups who are trying to build a product for India, in India. I think that's what we would want to achieve with this podcast with you.
So I just want to correct you on one thing, Maitri.
Okay.
I am a lifelong student.
Ah,
So I am still a student.
nice.
For your community, that's a heartening thing, I think.
You have just opened the show in a blockbuster level. So, yeah, I mean, I think this conversation will go correct.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't need to give a lot of introduction about you. You are a very known person in the corporate world. You've been with Dassault, you've been with SAP, you've handled business of $400 million size. I mean, I still have to count the zeros if I, go. I mean, I'm in awe of your profile when I go through it, and now to have you as a mentor plus investor and also as an advisor, it gives us a tremendous opportunity to do right what we are doing. So I don't have to give an elaborated introduction about you, but there are some amazing things you're currently doing even after your long corporate stint. What are the interesting things you're doing, if at all we can help our audience understand you a little better? It helps them in approaching you maybe.
So Maitri, I live in the future. I don't live in the past. So it's more important what I'm going to do now and what I'm going to do with you, TimBuckDo, as well as what I'm going to do in the future.
Okay.
And to me, there are two things which are the most important things for the future. From a technology perspective, and because I come from a technology domain, it's artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is not about technology. It's a foundational change in the way everything will work. And the second thing is environment. You live in Bangalore. I guess no one needs to tell anyone now about what's the state of the environment. So those are the two things which drive most of my time now. On the environment side, I'm working with a non-profit, a wonderful organization based right here in Bangalore, called A-Tree, Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment. I'm on the board of A-Tree USA, and my focus is on how to bring technology to scale the work, the wonderful work that they're doing. There are over 200 very exceedingly competent people, PhDs, researchers, well-known people all over the world, working on some of the toughest problems of how to manage the environmental and biodiversity degradation that is happening. On the other side, I am involved from a technology perspective with a bunch of startups. So my passion is to grow people. That has been my past life as well. And I'm investing in a company like TimBuckDo, people like you who are the future, and to see how I can help with whatever experience I have. We've just launched this week a fabulous network called Invest IIT, which is meant for IIT Kanpur alumni. IIT Kanpur alumni who are starting up companies and IIT alumni, angels who want to invest in IIT in those companies. So I'm privileged and I'm blessed to, we be a part of that. So really, it's about future. That's what I'm about.
I totally get it with the kind of, with technology, with environment, I see a lot of impactful work that you've been doing and associating yourself with Indian startups because you live in Boston, you live in US, but most of your investment is in India. But why are you choosing India? What makes you choose Indian startups or invest time here, basically, money and time?
I've been out of India now for almost 30 years, but everything that I've done in all these 30 years, in my past life as well, whether it was with SAP or whether it was with a company called Matrix One, which got acquired by Dassault Systèmes, so it was Dassault Systèmes, all of that had an India element in it. For SAP, I was the first employee of SAP in India. Dassault Systèmes, I helped with the scale up of the operations in Dassault Systèmes. In Matrix One, I established a joint venture. So even in my corporate life, it was all about, there was an element of India, even though I was living in Singapore, Japan, US eventually. But going for the future, guess what? India is the best place to be, right? You're blessed that you're in the hottest economy of the world. You are the youngest population as far as average age is concerned. Everyone is looking at India now. So I'm blessed that I'm an Indian sitting in the US, and at least I had a little bit of foresight in terms of staying focused on India. And I've really not left my India mentally. Okay. When I come to Bangalore, it's like I've never left Bangalore.
It's home.
It's home, and it's not just home. It's where I don't feel I've ever left this place. Nice. Okay, so that's really why India is really the choicest destination. Of course, the startup ecosystem is amazing here, right? Look at all these companies that are mushrooming. So the energy of India is what is driving me, which is constantly bringing me back. And it helps that my mother still lives in India.
See, it's very reassuring for us who decided to stay back. I'll tell you, when we were in school, right? Mostly 90s kids were sold American dream or a Europe dream kind of a thing. But most of them did, shift or settle abroad, at least in my batch. And I also see in Apur's, who's our co-founder's batch, that they moved abroad, they settled. But people who decided to stay here, it is such a reassuring factor now when we hear from people like you that it's India's time. I think I only feel that the decision we took back then is in our favor currently. So Andy, speaking of your vast experience, right? So you've seen a lot of trends coming, going. Which is that one trend you think which reached grassroots level and which revolutionized the way people are living?
You're right. I've seen a lot of trends come and go, mostly come and then stay. I think the mobile revolution is what has been the most transformational revolution. Okay. When India was starting up, how hard it was to get. You're probably too young for that, but it used to take years to get a phone connection. Okay. You had to wait for 10 years to get a phone connection. Oh. And there were only 2 million phones connections in the entire country of about 700 million people. 2 million. Now, the mobile phones are everywhere. There are more than almost 1 billion or maybe more. India has the highest, after China, the highest number of mobile phones. And everyone has a mobile phone, right? So it doesn't take anything. The mobile revolution has really brought inclusion. India at least missed that one step of computers, personal computers, bringing that level of inclusion, because personal computers were still expensive, still hard to manage from software and other perspectives. But mobile, it's a device that anyone can use. That, I think, is the past. But what we are seeing in the future, the artificial intelligence revolution that we are on the cusp of, that to me is just of a different dimension. Okay. I know everyone talks about how ChatGPT took off. In 2 months it was 200 million users. In a few months, it was 1 billion users. Things that took Facebook years to achieve, they were done in months. So I think that really is going to be the trend and of the future in terms of, just an explosive way of seeing that technology and the way it will change things develop.
So, I mean, I think few months or few years back, we were all speaking of being industry ready, being job ready kind of a situation, right? And now we suddenly hear you have to be AI ready. And when we were discussing off the camera, you said it's not just AI ready, you'll have to be AI first now. The penetration of AI looks like it is also going to, make impact in common man's life. It's just not technology. Do you see that happening, or even a common man's life will get disrupted with AI in a day-to-day practice?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So let's understand why the layoffs are happening.
Mm-hmm.
The layoffs are happening primarily because during COVID and slightly after COVID, there was a lot of hiring, over-hiring that happened, mostly in tech companies. People went berserk hiring because there was a bump of revenue that came in, and there was a bump in buying, and people had relatively easy money, especially in the West where there was a lot of cash infusion done. So that drove a fair amount of complacency in the hiring process. Mm-hmm. And then when that wore off, that whole stimulus that was put in wore off, then obviously it was a time of reckoning for most companies, and they decided to lay off. So if people are saying that layoffs are happening because of AI, that's incorrect.
Okay. That's reassuring actually.
But
it is the truth.
The rehiring is not going to happen the same way. The rehiring is going to be driven by AI. Okay. And when people start looking at new positions to fill, they're going to see whether there is an element of AI that can help them in improving productivity. And it's not the same jobs that will come back. Mm-hmm. So what's important for people to understand is that if they got laid off, like previously, you get laid off, you stay out of a job for a few months, and then you find another job as hiring picks up. Hiring is a wave. Companies lay off and then they come back and hire after a few months or a year or two. And usually it's the same job, right? Or similar job.
Okay.
But that may or may not happen. And the reason why it may not happen is because people are going to, at least companies are getting AI first. Mm-hmm. So they're looking at, can AI do some part of that job, and can it be made more productive? Okay. And remember, AI is white collar focused. Okay, automation was blue collar focused. AI is white collar. I'm talking of industrial automation and manufacturing. The industrial revolution that happened was very blue collar focused. This is white collar focused. Guess what? The blue collar jobs will come back almost, but even those will get impacted by robotics, automation, all that stuff, where there is an AI component in it. But white collar jobs will get impacted as a result of AI in terms of the rehiring process. So I don't know whether that answers the question that you had.
Yeah, so thing is, we have a very variety of viewers to this podcast, right? And mostly the larger segment are students and parents. Now, if at all that news of AI eating up the job, you address the right point. That's where I was boiling down to, because also you see Google laying off. We were also reading the lowest hiring rate even from companies like Infosys this year. So they've, I think, hired in like 11,000 numbers, but whereas Infosys for us was a large job creator, like one of the largest job creators. So we just want them to know that is skill playing a role, or is it just is it a gas, or is it a real thing that is happening? I think to an extent you did put up some light on that.
Yes. So let me say this. Skill plays some part of the role. People are saying, I need to get AI ready and to some extent you need to be AI ready and AI first. Like for example, let's say you're a graphic designer, right? You need to know what AI tools are there. So there's a tool called Midjourney, for example, where you start learning how to do, graphics and content, graphical content. And I've started, I use Midjourney myself. So let me give you my own example, okay? I've got this initiative called naturecenter.ai where we are looking at how to look at all the aspects of AI that impact nature and vice versa. And we wanted to set up a website, right? So we went to all these people to say, hey, can you develop a website for us? And we got, yeah, we'll take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, we'll take X number of lakhs to do. So my colleague who's an AI researcher and me got together and said, let's figure out how to develop it. Now guess how much time we took to develop the website, which was usually quoted at anywhere between 1 to 3 months.
Few days?
1 hour.
Oof.
Exactly all of 1 hour.
Oh my God.
And with zero skills. I had to just type in literally what I wanted.
Prompts, basically.
And the wireframe was generated by the AI tool. It's called Relium. And after that, you know, the graphics, of course, we had to spend a little bit of time on Midjourney to create the graphics, maybe an hour, maybe, or even less. And the rest of the site was created almost autonomously. We had a working site ready in 1 hour flat. Now imagine what that means for all those website developers who are trying to develop websites. And guess this has not become mainstream, so they still have a job. It's not that it's going away, but there's no reason why it will not become mainstream in the next 6 months to a year. It's not going to take a lot of time.
So Andy, with all of these things that happen, how do you view the future of the work?
The future of work, in my opinion, is about, so first of all, you come from the gig economy. You're sweetly positioned, okay? Because I think the future of work is gig. And it's for many reasons. It's gig because people are used to now working from home, which in a way could be termed as another form of gig, even though you could be in a steady job, but guess what, you're working from home. And by the way, people who are working from home are doing a lot of side gigs as well. So you know that. I mean, there's been a big
all the lights, moons,
so that
and suns.
That gig is already going on. The other thing is that as AI tends to disrupt, and not just AI, but technology in general tends to disrupt the work, I think these long, steady jobs where you could work for 35 years and then get your golden watch and your nice retirement party, I think that's slowly going away. I think not slowly, okay, it's going to go away pretty fast. So people have to get adjusted to the fact that when they're looking for their next job, especially if they get laid off, or even if they're looking for their first job, they have to have a gig mindset. The gig mindset is that you have to be confident about what you're doing, the tools that you're going to use, you've got to be constantly learning. I said I'm a student right now, and I am actually a student. I'm learning AI from people who are just out of college, okay? I call myself an intern with them, okay? In my own company, by the way. So that's, I think that's the nature of work going to be, which is that it's going to be flexible, it's going to be disrupted, so you'll have to constantly be learning. It'll by nature be like a gig job, even though it may seem like a full-time job, but it'll be a gig job. Even if you're working for a big company, guess what? You may be employed in that company, but within the company you'll be changing a lot of jobs.
Happens.
So it'll be like a gig kind of thing within a company. Of course, you still have the umbrella of the big company. Another thing that is happening, in my opinion, is that there are a lot of large companies and there are a lot of startups. The mid-sized companies are gradually disappearing. A lot of the mid-sized companies are getting swallowed up by the big companies. So especially we see that trend in technology where you'll see in certain areas only 2 or 3 companies left, right? I mean, when I started databases, there used to be like 15 companies and now there are only like 3 companies left. Search, good example, you know, there's nothing beyond Google. So in that sense, again, it'll create a lot of pressure because if you're not working for a big company, guess what? You're working for a startup and then you're in that gig mindset already. So to that extent, I think, you know, the gig culture, the gig mindset is mainstream.
Yeah, like you rightly said, because at TimBuckDo also, when it comes to gig, it's mindset basically, right? I mean, we deal with students. We have a very specific universe that we have, marked for ourselves. We don't go beyond students is because we want to own the community. But like you rightly said, gig is a mindset. Today, I think, what do you think of this generation? Because you invested in TimBuckDo. What do you think of this Gen Z, Gen Alpha? I mean, what is your bird eye view saying of this generation?
This generation has been blessed in many ways because they have come mostly from a time when everything is, what is called the problem of plenty. Okay, so there's a lot which is already there. Life at one level is easier, but at another level is tough. Because of social media, I think, there are a lot of friends, but there are not enough friends, right? There are not enough relationships, let me put it that way. So there are some aspects of it which are good, there are some of it which are not so good. But I strongly believe in this generation. Okay. And I strongly believe that this generation will take us out of the mess that we have created.
And why so?
Primarily in the environment space. I think the environment is where this generation is extremely conscious.
Yes.
This generation, in my opinion, is very inclusive.
Yes, that they are.
This generation is socially, is relatively non-judgmental.
Correct, okay. Absolutely. Yeah.
So to me, these are things that I am learning from them. And to that extent, I would say this generation is a much better version of us than, and I'm happy about that. I feel confident that this generation will take us into the right place. Having said that, I think this generation also needs to have more resilience. That is one thing I feel that maybe because of the support system that they've had, because of many of them did not have to struggle that much. I'm not saying that a lot of people who are still struggling.
Yeah,
but a lot of people who have relatively come from better times. And to that extent, they have not been tested in life early enough.
Got it.
And to me, that is what the gig provides you.
Yes.
So even if you are wealthy, but if you go into a gig job early in life and do even something which is considered menial, that gives you a grounding and a resilience that I think will play a very important role.
You're absolutely right, yes. See, I mean, when we today look at the trends that we see with TimBuckDo gig workers, students, right? One, because you come from West, you understand the importance of confidence at that age. Because for us, we lack conversation skills, communication skills, because that comes as not even a priority. I mean, if at all you look at a micro level pe, an Indian household, when there is a relative who walks in, parents force you to say hello. It doesn't come very naturally, it doesn't come very confidently. We still shy away, we still try to hide, and we try avoiding, we make faces as kids. But I've seen, at least in West, kids open up and say that hello with a lot of confidence. Maybe, is it so because they've been exposed to work at very young age, that's where the confidence is coming?
Guess what? If you're working in a coffee shop or waiting tables, if you've been to the US and you go there, they're trained to have a conversation with you. Hi, how's the weather?
Yeah.
How has been your day? If I'm getting a haircut, which by the way is a gig job in the US, a hairdresser is a gig job there. Okay, they come in to do a few hours a week.
That's nice.
They have other things to do. They get trained. There's a whole lot of things that you think are regular jobs, but actually are gig jobs in the US. And they're trained to have conversations. So you are expected to greet your customer. You are expected to have a conversation with the customer. And sometimes you may think that, they're so friendly. But actually, they are friendly. But actually, they've been trained to be friendly. Okay. And for people who are in this generation, and I don't want to sound as if, I'm judging anyone. But by virtue of just being on a lot on, and I'm feeling that myself because you're on social media, you spend a lot of time in front of the phone, you tend to, the conversational skills, the social connection skills tend to atrophy. Okay, and I think
they become inward basically.
Yeah, and you just don't want to get out of that. You're happy to sit in one corner and do your own stuff. I mean, I've had people who sit in a room, like 5 kids sitting in a room. No one is talking to each other. Everyone's got their earphone in there, got their mobile, and sometimes they're communicating with each other on the same mobile, but they're sitting in the same room. So I think that those things are things which help in the gig kind of jobs, really help you get out of those kind of mindset. But the most important thing gig jobs do is give you financial independence. Okay, and I think that makes a huge difference to a lot of people. I think what you're doing, Maitri, through TimBuckDo is, for some people, the gig job may be the source of income and the way to support their family or their education.
At least better their lifestyle, even if
and improve their lifestyle.
Yeah. So, I mean, Andy, thank you. I mean, to bring that point out. In fact, the very reason we want to differentiate TimBuckDo as a student part-time job portal is for that reason, that the end engagement here is money, right? I mean, the reward should be money, which will help you better your lifestyle, pay that education fees if you want, or be of some help, or just afford that extra burger or go on that extra date if it is what you're willing to, or if that is the necessity of your need of your life. Now, I'm going a little personal with that because we've been discussing students and all of it, right? Did you do any part-time job when you were young?
Unfortunately, no. I didn't have a TimBuckDo in my life. I can't tell you how important that would have been in my life. When I started, when I was doing my education, I desperately needed money because I really did not have enough money because of some challenges at home. I was barely making 2 ends meet as a student. It would have been really, really good for me to get a part-time job. There was no avenue to do a part-time job. And of course, there was a certain social stigma of, if you go and do a job, and maybe it still exists today, I don't know.
It is, of course.
But hey, everyone wants to be seen as if their parents are supporting it. It's actually the reverse in the US. Okay. In the US, it's a badge of pride that you're doing your own stuff and you're
taking care of your own stuff.
Yeah, you're bringing in the money and you're not depending on your parents. Here, it's I think at least when I was growing up, it was.
It's still same, Andy. It's nothing much has changed. I'll also tell you what is happening is because there is also a internship as a culture here, right, which is forced or made mandatory by college. So not voluntarily chosen. Also in align with your curriculum. It's not giving enough of scope for your other skills. Like if you know other language, or are you good at photography, or you have any side hustle kind of a skill set that you have. But internship doesn't open up. I mean, we are not against it, but it's only has certain limitation, which TimBuckDo tries solving by making the scope of work little widen, and the end engagement is money, like you were emphasizing. Money gives you that confidence. Money gives you that edge to understand your worth, basically. I mean,
Maitri, I've missed out on one thing that I think TimBuckDo will have a huge impact on, and this is a topic which is very close to my heart.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know whether you are familiar with these terms, which are called neurotypical and neurodivergent. Okay. Neurotypical, these are new words, by the way.
Yeah, new in the market.
But neurotypical is, people who are seen to be generally, the average person. Mm-hmm. Okay, and neurodivergent are people who think differently. Okay, who have sometimes special needs. Mm-hmm. These are people who have, almost 10% of the population is known to be neurodivergent. Okay, these are people who have autism, people who have ADHD, and these were there earlier as well, but they were seen to be, this guy is a black sheep, or this guy is a good for nothing, or this guy is probably, not there. Okay, now there is an acceptance that these people are really people who are talented, but their talents are different. Okay, they're not the same as what autistic. Some of the autistic people have the best of math skills. They have sometimes the best of creative skills. They are great artists. Same thing with ADHD people. ADHD people can be unbelievably focused on certain things.
Okay.
And to me, gig is the best way to get them those kind of jobs, because it will be hard for them to crack in their first job with like, for example, I know of a company in India which has given job of it's a courier company which employs only deaf and dumb people, because you don't need a person to speak anything when he's a courier, right? So like this, there are certain jobs which fit perfectly for
Not mainstream fully, but
I wouldn't call mainstream or a non-mainstream. I would say that there are certain jobs which fit neurodivergent people better than neurotypical people.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. And to me, this whole space of neurodivergence, which is a space which was, to me, underserved, and which resulted in a lot of people not finding their place in society and being left behind, I think TimBuckDo can do something about it.
We definitely are committed to bring that social impact in the broader terms. Of course, we are dealing with the very vulnerable set of sensitive age group, 18 to 25 in a broader term. If there is any opportunity that comes our way, TimBuckDo will not let any stone unturned to touch those lives, because the basic of our work today is impacting life at early age, providing them opportunity, while we also make revenues and things. But thank you for just, reinstilling that thought in us. Now, I'm sure, we will also focus on bringing this impactful, meaningful, or open up another side of segment where we make it more inclusive, make it more welcoming. And I'll move to the last set of things. I know you've invested in us now, not just on the finance part of it, but you also invest a lot of time with us. I mean, this is not to hear any very favorable answers, but what made you invest in TimBuckDo is something that I really want to tell the audience, because see, it acts as a testimony today for somebody like you to invest in us, right? Like I said, not just finance, but you're investing your time, which is more valuable. So what made you believe in TimBuckDo?
India, as I said, is the youngest population country. India is what is called the demographic dividend. Okay. India has to become rich before it becomes old.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. The countries that have become rich before they became old are countries like South Korea, Japan. Okay. This is a challenge sometimes, because guess what? Now the population is not growing that fast, and soon it will start dipping. In fact, in some parts of India, it's already a negative population growth, southern parts of India. So there is a time when this thing will start tapering off. And it's critical that the young people get employed quickly.
Okay.
To me, TimBuckDo provides that first break. And to me, the first break is probably the most important break in life. Even if it's a gig job, it gives you, something on your resume, something in confidence, money in the bank. All that stuff comes in through this kind of a job. So to me, that is the biggest thing that attracted us to TimBuckDo, attracted me to TimBuckDo, which is that you are focused on this one big topic.
Thank you.
Okay. The second thing that I think is that gig, as I mentioned earlier, is the future of work. So obviously, that's where I think now it's called gig, but I think that will be the way of working. Okay, it will not be anymore seen as just another gig. So that's, to me, the future of work. Okay, so that's the second reason why I think I'm investing. The third is you, Apoorv, the rest of the team that you kindly introduced me to, you're super passionate about this topic. Okay, so it's ultimately the founders, the passion of the founders, the integrity of the founders, the vision of those founders, that makes the difference. Okay, when we invest, we just invest, and then, we don't know what will happen. But I think it's people who are really running the business, their passion really counts to make it successful. So the reason why, those are really the reasons why, we invested. And we have very high hopes on you. Remember,
Thank you.
The pressure is on. Okay, we are not just investing, we want you to be outstandingly successful, not just
Thank you.
Successful.
I mean, like, every time I've said this to you, we will leave no stone unturned to reach those many lives out there, while we are taking care of the other economic side of the business as well. I mean, we are super excited, to have you, Mort, on board with us and, take this journey ahead. I have to add one last thing. So, see, why this question is very important while we are almost reaching the end of the podcast is because there is an startup founder, there can be a business owner, there can be an individual also watching this podcast in all high chances, right? Thing is, even at times when students are ready to take gig jobs, it's also the other side of the story, right? Employers also should open their doors, believe in this generation. So do you really think gig workers like students will add value to employers because they would be investing only 4 or 5 hours maximum or 20 hours in a week? From the shoes of you yourself running your enterprise, do you think part-timers will make sense to your business?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the reason is that part-timers come with the freshness that is needed today.
Yeah.
Everything is changing. Yeah. Everything is up for grabs.
You're right.
The bigger the company you are, the more worried you are about how your business is going to get disrupted.
Yeah.
Okay? And young people, when they come in, people who are students, they are much more clued in to a lot of the technology.
Updated.
Yeah, they are reading stuff, they're studying stuff on YouTube and all kinds of, they're so much more aware of what's happening. They're clued in. Most of us, when we're working like, we just got these blinders and we're working, but students are all over the place, right? And thanks to the mobile phone, guess what? They're consuming information voraciously.
Yeah.
So I think students are probably going to save the day for many of these. These student gig employees are going to bring in that freshness. They are the change agents that can
energy.
Drive. Yeah. One thing I must say, I probably missed out you asked me the question about expectations and all that, and the student generation. So since they're listening, and I probably mentioned it to you earlier, is how do you define success? Okay, how do you define long-term success? I've been long enough to understand what is success and what is not success. And I think students are driven by a lot of things that are immediate, material, rewarding in terms of instant gratification. But I think eventual success is working towards a goal which is a little beyond yourself. And that's what, by the way, attracted me to TimBuckDo as well.
Okay. Thank you.
So you are working towards the success of your student community. You're trying to give them a break, their first break. That is how you measure success, and that is how we will measure you. I know that money will come eventually and hopefully soon as well. But I think that will come because you have made your student community successful and your customers successful. So to me, that is the true measure of success. And I think all students, when they start their life, I see all these graduation ceremonies where people talk about success and what they have had as successful lives. But I think, what is truly a successful life is when you are an enduring success is when you're focused on whatever you're working, you've measured it as something which is beyond yourself.
Wow.
So just wanted to mention that.
I think this is a perfect closure to this conversation, right? I mean, you've just given that recipe to have that, fulfilling life, basically. I mean, we usually, like you said, instant gratification is something that this generation is very, very addicted to. maybe because of the kind of internet connection they have, maybe because of the kind of technology that they are using. But if you see in a larger scale, this generation also complains about anxiety, mental health. But now that you opened up that definition of success, I think now they will reflect back on what exactly or what path should they choose. And if at all somewhere TimBuckDo can be a very small part of their journey, we will consider that it is worth every investment, every time invested. But Andy, thank you for doing this. We can't thank you enough for all the guidance, mentoring, and the support that you've been continuously giving to me and Apoorv. And you are hand-holding us in a lot of things. We come to you with all the silly doubts, but you've been patiently helping us. But this is very rare when it comes to investors, because it's a very, very complicated relationship, right, between founders and investors. But all I have is gratitude today, and thank you for believing in us. I will close the show by saying that most importantly, we will value your time compared to your investments, and we will make sure we add value while we are creating good numbers on the business side of it. Thank you for doing this, and we only look forward to good days.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be finally considered as a lifelong student on your student podcast.
Thank you. And this is No Filter Please, one of our very special episodes where you got to hear an unfiltered conversation from somebody of this stature. So keep watching, be with us, support us, and see you on the other side.
And join the TimBuckDo platform.
Yeah, that's important.